welcome back to Misfits News. I'm your host, as always, Ben the Bane Davis, joined by my co-host Biel, and today we've got some time with the head honcho, Mams Taylor. Mams, how are you, sir?
Good. You guys are doing such a great job. I can't wait for you guys to win a Misfits award.
It was fun presenting it. Didn't get any of them.
It's never going to happen. That's last year. We're here to talk about this year. And one of the things that happened most recently, Mams, was, of course, the return of BrandRisk Promotions. So I think what
Mhm.
this was yesterday, a couple days ago, Adin Ross hosted his third or fourth event. And, it was an interesting one. B-Dave got a knockout. Deen the Great dislocates the shoulder, but still gets the decision. What were your thoughts overall of that event?
Look, I think we have a much different dynamic, and our relationship is respectful. I was happy to release Dean um and B Dave and Puliarif for their event, and I think if we have a camaraderie between us, then it can only help. And even though their audience is very different to our audience, there is a slight overlap. Um, I do agree with Adin, and I said this to him on the phone when we spoke, and we had a great couple of conversations. Um, that I think it's great for the space to be. It kicks everyone's ass to say, all right, I wanna do better than I'm doing. So if their product becomes a threat at any point, really it's just going to get our asses into gear to go into overdrive. So I'm not mad at it. And honestly, I know this sounds a little bit corny, but I do think I'm not a fan of trying to take away from anyone trying to do something in order to succeed. I think you can have both. Now, if someone fucks with me or with Misfits or with us, then that's a different thing. Then we retaliate, and then we'll do what we need to do. But if it comes down to it, there's more than enough abundance for everybody.
Was there almost maybe difficulty associated with, like you said, releasing? Because I know in the past, Dean had some issues with Adin Ross signing and whatnot. What do you think it says that you're still willing to say, hey, I'm going to let you go and get your opportunity, get your exposure, check that box? I feel like that's a pretty good move from you.
It, it may be or it may not be. I don't know, because look, Dana White, Vince McMahon, two of the greatest, and they're much more rigid. But for me, I think things are evolving, and I think you have to when there's other events around and you've got a ton of fighters. Our roster has a crazy amount of names on it now. A lot of fighters that people don't even know, because we haven't don't even know are associated with Misfits, because there's just not enough events. And so when there's other events going on, I'm not going to stop people from fighting elsewhere to earn their money, if I can't accommodate them as often as I'd like. But I think for Pulley, his stock went up. That third round was really good for him. I think B Dave's stock went up exponentially, you know. Great knockout. And I think Dean knows he didn't have the best performance. And that's the risk of taking fights elsewhere and doing stuff. It's one thing about Dean is he shows up to the occasion and he somehow seems to figure it out, even when he's been in trouble. That first fight with Waleed can tell you a lot about Dean's determination. So let's see how it plays out. But I bet you in the back of his mind, if he was to not have fought on that occasion, he'd probably opt for that option.
Now, obviously, there's a lot of speculation about Deen and Cra Cra being on that rumored March 29th card. Is there maybe concern because if he did pick up an injury, did dislocate the shoulder, does that almost jeopardize that fight?
I mean, I texted Dean and his manager after, congratulated them for the fight, for the win, and asked how his shoulder is. I haven't heard anything back about how his shoulder is, so I'm assuming that fight goes ahead. But
Hmm.
if it doesn't, then it doesn't. Then it's and that's what I mean. You gotta sort of evaluate beforehand. Is it worth it to me to take a fight before a really really big fight? And if the answer is yes, then sometimes it doesn't turn out the way you want it to.
Absolutely. Now, I sort of want to switch things slightly. I saw this podcast with Nakisa and Jake Paul, and there was a lot of conversations about it, a bit of back and forth. Mams, what was your thoughts on it, and like sort of the words that were expressed in that podcast?
I didn't see the podcast. I saw a couple of clips, and I think I
Yeah.
responded to one. Um, Look, I think I think for a guy who claims he's like a genius businessman, I don't think it's the best thing to insult your fan base and tell them, oh, it's just a few kids who want to see it. It's not a few kids. It's literally the cornerstone of what's made uh all of these guys' boxing career is the fan base. KSI, Logan, Jake, and many, many others. They have these fans to thank. And what you can't listen, I get a lot of shit from fans on a regular basis, but I still have to appreciate that they're passionate. And if they're passionate enough to call me names and passionate enough to want to watch, then you've got to be grateful that you're igniting their passion with your product. So for that, I'm very grateful. And I think that you should never forget that these so-called kids, they've grown up with you. They're now in their 20s. If you look at the Misfits demographic, our 21 to 25 is the biggest chunk that we have of a that's our highest demographic. Then 18 to 21. Then I think it's 15 to 18 after that. Then 24, 27, and so on. So these guys aren't just kids; they're people who've basically grown into full grown men, supporting KSI and Jake Paul and watching them and seeing the beef develop between them. And I think these guys are, essentially, it's not that you should live for your fans only, but it should be a big factor. And I think just dismissing them that quickly isn't a really smart thing to do. It is what it is, man. Like, I don't think me and that guy will ever see eye to eye, but I'll always be willing to put our differences aside to do what's best for JJ, to do what's best for business.
Absolutely.
There was a big announcement from Jake Paul. He was hyping up this news. It was going to be bigger than the Mike Tyson fight, and I guess it turns out it's a reality TV show with his brother Logan heading to Max, called what? Paul American, American Paul. I'm curious, what
Yeah.
do you think of that? I know you've got experience, obviously, in the entertainment business. Is a reality TV show like a solid move from them, you'd say?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a good move. I think at the end of the day, we've done the poster of Logan and KSI making out like they're going to fight again. We did it for the KSI show, and fans didn't like that they were misled, even though our intention wasn't to mislead. It was just to create hype and excitement. And I, it's kind of a sore spot for me because I love that show and we put so much work into it. And I thought, even though the numbers were great, it's not always about the numbers. It was like the sentiment of the fan base. They weren't too
Hmm.
happy about that show. And it sucks because there was so much work put into it and it was a great show. But I learned, like, okay, we're trying to hype something, but you see that's you guys' business. That's influencers' businesses. Like the thumbnail is everything. It's the clickbait type
Yeah.
thing. So I guess fans were less forgiving about that. But then KSI and Logan did it again for Prime, and that worked out really, really well. So it's you want to be able to try to predict the fan base, but sometimes it can be very difficult. Some fans were disappointed, but ultimately they're entertaining. Logan and Jake are entertaining to, I'm sure their banter and their family and Papa Paul as well. He's very, very entertaining guy. Put him and John Fury in a room, and I promise you that's going to do some ratings. So I think it's a good business move, and it's not like everything has to be completely boxing related, even though I think it will give you an insight into Jake Paul's upcoming announcement. I would predict that's one of the things he can do is maybe use that, or maybe he'll announce it before. But yeah, look, that it depends what your goal is. Okay, Um, if KSI's goal was, I want to make as much money as I can, then I think he would be going through a, somewhat similar path and consider things like Mike Tyson. But luckily and thankfully, he has a different set of principles. So, he wouldn't fight Mike Tyson. He wouldn't fight Holyfield and so on and so forth. But like I say, I think it's led Jake to this point, and that Tyson fight was so undeniably big, whether we like it or not. It was a big, big business move, and it set him up for his next move, which is going to be massive.
I want to shift the focus from Jake Paul and obviously talking about announcements. Hopefully, by the time this video's come out,
Well,
the
let's
KSI
let's let's
fight.
actually let's just cover this part. Jake Paul lives rent free in your head is quite a frequently commented thing that I've seen. Yeah, like about, and Nakisa was like saying that they talk about us all the time. This is the thing. You guys, if you guys didn't ask me about it, I wouldn't bring it up. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you asked me about something, if you asked me about the difference between grizzly bears and black bears and polar bears, I could be here all night. I'm telling you. I've got a
Maybe
lot to say
that's a
about it.
new episode.
They're not rent free in my head, but I'm this is my business, so I'm supposed to be educated and have an opinion on the fighters, especially at the top level. So it's such a stupid thing to say. But the irony of it was, Jake says, yeah, he's got me in his head rent free about KSI, and at the same time, he says he's got me in his head rent free, and then at the same time, they're like, oh, we like to follow KSI to keep tabs on him. It's just it's stupid. It's a rivalry that is the cornerstone of our space. And whether they want to distance themselves from fans, distance themselves from influencer label and all of that stuff, you can't get away from it. That's the biggest fight there is. That's the most wanted fight. That's the biggest bragging rights you could have for a fight. So anyway, on that note.
Well, hopefully, I'm going to ask the question as well. If they were ever to fight, do you actually think they would become friends? Do you think, having sort of dealt with JJ and seen Jake obviously in his manners, do you think they would become friends like Logan did with JJ?
Um, Anything's possible. Anything's possible. And I think when you fight someone, and you guys both know this, yeah? You, even when it's sparring and you have a rough sparring session, but it's back and forth, it builds a camaraderie, it builds a foundation of strength in your friendship and respect. So I think you have to respect someone for getting in the ring with you. And then, who knows where it'll go from there.
Well, Mams, you've no longer got Ben, but it's because there's an exciting announcement that's just gone live, one that we didn't know was going to happen today. KSI versus Dillon Danis. Talk to me.
I'm gonna have to write a serious book one day, okay? And Dillon Danis will take up about 10 chapters. He's a character. JJ wants to finish what he started. He doesn't want he hates that coffee was poured on him. He hates that Danis pulled out and caused the mayhem that ensued after that. And JJ's a methodical guy. He likes to have his opponent locked in and basically plan and plot with his team from that point on. Danis, he wants redemption. He wants to show that he wasn't his best against Logan. And I think Dillon Danis has a complicated, complex mind. So what goes through his head, how he was prepared or lack of preparation he had for that fight, I think that's haunted him ever since. And this is why, for him, he was excited about the opportunity to get on the big stage once more and show that he can do better than what he showed last time. And that's why it's literally unfinished business. So yeah, it's gonna be a banger. The card's gonna be a banger. I'm hoping I might even I'm not even gonna dare to say when I'm gonna announce the rest of the card because I've had too much experience now with that, but I'm certainly working on it, and it's gonna be a fun night, man. Really
Absolutely.
excited about this.
Absolutely. We're returning in Manchester. Obviously, a fight that couldn't come into fruition, finally come together. Talk to me. What can people expect from the card? I know you can't announce any of the fights as of right now, but when people turn up to Manchester to this fight, what can they expect?
Start to finish bangers, banger after banger after banger. Going to be a really fun card. The co-main event's going to be beautiful. The whole night's going to be wonderful. So we're really excited. Now that this is a done thing, it frees me up to work on so many things. But look, um, there's there's it's been a process, and I'm glad that it's gone out. And at the end of the day, for JJ and his team, it ticks the boxes. For Dillon, it ticks his boxes, and his team as well. So I think this could do some serious numbers as well. you know
Absolutely.
um I'm looking forward to the promo, and I think it's going to be a fun ride.
The promotion, no doubt, is going to be absolutely insane. I know we're quite tight for time right now, so I've got one final question for you, Mans, before I let you go.
Sure.
Coming from Team KSI, obviously, that's the team you're around, that's the team you support. What can we expect from KSI? Is this going to be a different rendition of him that he's going out there not leaving it to the judges?
I think that's certainly going to be the goal. Look, say what you want about Dillon Danis, but he definitely did not. He knew how not to get knocked out by Logan. You know, he's a fighter, and whatever he's displayed, again, I think he's taking it seriously. He's in camp. He's focusing on this, and I think Dillon Danis is a tough guy, and he's a durable guy. I'm not just gassing this up. He's a fighter, essentially, and he's immersed himself in meme culture to a degree where it's got a lot of positives and a lot of negatives. So, um, you know, I'm excited to see how it all plays out. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a fun build up. March 29th in the A Arena, Manchester. We return once again for our first pay-per-view of the year. KSI versus Dillon Danis, and an absolutely stacked undercard. Mams, thank you so much for jumping back on, and I look forward to the rest of the episode.
Well, we'll take a step back. We'll talk macro for a moment. So for 2025, the I think existing belief is he'll fight KSI will fight in March, and then there will be two more fights, one of them in America. Is that still the plan, or has that seen some adjustments in the last couple weeks?
Um, in this game, like, you want to make plans, you want to book stuff as quickly as you can so it doesn't get away. Um, KSI sometimes, he's in a position where he can choose where he wants to go. So, he's the captain of the ship. If he wants to have three fights, we'll get three fights. If he wants to have two fights, it'll be two, whatever it is. But I think more will be revealed. We just need to focus on 21, and kind of get everything sealed, and then I can go 300 miles an hour on everything else.
Sure. All right, let's change gears a little bit and talk about the pro division because we've seen some really exciting entrants. Ty Mitchell, of course, most recently getting a big knockout in his debut. You've got Jihan Ingram, Amir Anderson. I believe there was another signee. She's an incredibly decorated boxer in her own right. So you're collecting this really strong division. What is the end game? Bringing world championships to Misfits, growing pro boxing. What is sort of the intention?
We love boxing, we love MMA, we love combat sports, so it's something that we're passionate about, and it's something that I think the reason it's taken so long is you want to get it right. And sometimes our excitement exceeds the ability to move as quickly as our minds do. So I'm playing catch up with that and just making sure everything is set the right way so that we can have a maximum impact when we have our own MF Pro show and MMA shows. So it's done right, it's executed to perfection, as close to, and that fans like it. We don't want to just be a competitor in a space that's somewhat saturated. We want to be a leader and we want to be a standout. So there's things that we're working on that I think will blow people away, quite frankly. But we have to get those things right. And to get those things right, it takes time.
Absolutely. I think we've got a big year coming up in 2025. And I think that's what a lot of people want to know is what are the plans for 2025? What's your ambitions right now going into this year?
Definitely to launch MF Pro on its own shows, definitely to launch Misfits MMA as well, and to continue expanding and growing with Misfits, with Misfits Boxing. And I think the numbers speak for themselves. We're always outperforming the previous shows. The last one was our biggest non-pay-per-view to date, by quite a significant margin too. So, I think that's something we take pride in, and we want to continue to grow and uh, visit different territories, do collaborations. We've spoken to Bare Knuckle to do a Misfits versus Bare Knuckle
Wow.
event. I would love to get that off the ground. It's just been preliminary conversations, but I'm hoping it leads to something more. I think that'll be a lot of fun. And and yeah, there's a lot of big fights to make, for KSI and for others. So we've got a couple of guys that are indicating really well to also carry the flag for the pay-per-views. But yeah, I think we've got a really, really exciting year ahead. I'm projecting that it'll be. Listen, what was a good test is we did 2024 without KSI, and we came out on top. And the thing that people don't understand is there aren't many, if any, promotions that I can think of that in their first 2 years of existence have made 0 losses and have made and have no loans, no debts, and all of that. To be where we are with no outside investor or anything like that, I think we're in a really, really fantastic place, and we've shown that we can stand up on our own 2 feet. And there's not many of us that have done that. We're a different product to MVP, but you have to give them kudos. I think they're in that same boat, where they have profited. Our thing is we want to build the brand, so it's more. KSI will say this himself. It's more about the brand of Misfits than just KSI's brand. Of course, they intermingle, but that's very important to us. And I think we're at a place where we're more than just an events company. We are a brand, and it takes time to get that right, and we've done really well with that. So we're very proud of that part.
For
You guys
sure.
want an
Well, let's.
exclusive?
I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
love an
Let's hear it.
exclusive, man. Give it.
We are looking for a replacement for Keemstar for the small council.
Oh,
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes,
Interesting.
Keemstar. I called him and I was like, "Bro, you never respond to the WhatsApp group. You're not really involved anymore. You're just like if I call him and I'm like, hey, check WhatsApp, he'll do it. He is a character that I think the space does need. But right now he's so preoccupied with he's having a lot of success with all his shows and everything. So I just said, bro, about the small council. And he's like, I know, bro. I think, and we kind of said it. It was very mutual and fine. So it wasn't like he was upset or we were upset with him or anything. But I think we need someone who's a very active member. I may have nominated Wade,
oh,
but he's an active fighter,
Hmm.
so that didn't work. And then we've discussed a few other options, but yeah,
And if you could select anyone, Mams, who would it be? Who would you slap onto the small council?
I thought Wade would be really fun because it would make for good viewing, the opposing views and and just seeing a different perspective. I often obviously disagree with Wade's thoughts on things, but then sometimes I agree wholeheartedly. So I don't know. It's about having different opinions, and as long as those opinions are thought through and well thought out, then I think I don't know. I think who else is there? Vidal, but Vidal's boxing and he's very busy with his fights and stuff. The other problem is if it's like it wouldn't be Fred, yeah, but let's say it was Fred. The problem is now he knows the inside stuff
Everything.
before he's meant to, and then that's going to affect what he puts out. And same with Wade, same with you guys, same with but I don't think it's affected Leon, and I don't know. We need to put some thought into it. We've put some names forward. Even Sensei was a name we put forward as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, either way,
nope.
Keemstar out. Such news. All eyes going to be on the small council. But let's get into the community questions here and get things back on track. So Troy Solo asks if we will ever get a rematch card, an all-female card, a Brazil card, or U.S. versus U.K. It's a loaded question. But which one of those four do you think is most likely?
I love the US UK. I think we'll get that this year, hopefully. I'm speaking to my Brazilian friends to see if a Brazil card is plausible and it makes sense. And what else was there? All girls? I don't think so. I think you can have heavy. We've had a card which was very heavy female card, which I'm fine with. It's just I'm not into like doing a all female or a all
All male event.
Yugoslavian or anything like that.
Yeah.
Let's just put on the best fights that make sense, that continue the storylines, and give people the fights they want to see as much as possible.
Absolutely. Let's go to our next question by Owen02. He asks, will Misfits MMA have its first show this year?
That's the plan, yeah.
Love it. Jack Constant asks, what was your personal favorite Misfits event to put together? I got to assume Nashville was at the bottom of that list.
Oh yeah, that was. I got complimented by some TV execs that came to that show, and they're like, "Bro, we would have been flipping out. You handled it so calmly. You were," and I was like, "Really?" I'll say this: just the whole world of Misfits has definitely taught me to embrace the chaos. I don't know. I enjoyed putting the Prime card together. I didn't enjoy the fights as much as I wanted to, you know. It
Mm.
was like I don't know, it wasn't my favorite night of fights, but process wise, I think I enjoyed that. It was a lot of hard work, and I really enjoyed the Qatar card actually.
Yeah, me
I
too.
really had a good time there. I enjoyed the matchmaking and the fights, and yeah, it was a good night. So I don't know. They're all Misfits One as well has that special place. And listen, I remember going into the offices of the Zone, and I had a dream card that I was like, guys, let's put this on. We need $26 million to start this. And they're just looking at each other like this guy doesn't know. Because I was coming into the space as a fan, right?
Yeah.
As a fan, and I'm like, well, this will surely do like 5 million pay-per-views. Look at this card I've got together. And it just doesn't work like that. And I got a very fast track education on, and now I think I probably know the value of every fighter better than I dare say anyone. Not in an arrogant way. It's just I'm married to this. I'm fully in. I can look at someone's engagements, Instagrams, without using the DAZN tech and everything, and be pretty close to what the offer should be for them and the value of the fighter at that point, and what their upside is, what their downside is, how much they could bring to the table if they did X, Y, Z. So I've really had a great time just learning the business and the creative side of it. And yeah, it's a tough job, but it's not something I would ever complain about at the same time, because that's what makes those moments of success so much more sweet, when you've put on a great event and you feel it and you just, you know, um, And it doesn't last long because you're like, oh man, that was awesome. I really had a good time. I think people enjoyed it. It elaborated certain storylines I was looking for. It thwarted other ones. I got to think of some new things now. And then you go right back to the drawing board. So I like the constant go, go, go.
Absolutely. That's what makes Misfit unique. But we'll go to our next question by Solo Dan. He asks, what happened to Misfits Mountain and are there any gimmick fights coming soon?
They're not called gimmick fights. I refuse to let anyone call them gimmick
Let him
fights.
know, Mams.
There's fun concepts that we want. The Zone loved Misfits Mountain. Um, I think Misfits Mountain is, a variation of a battle royale of sorts, and it's got to be conducted in a safe way, unlike some of those Polish and Russian shows you see, where people are just, I think it's a little too wild. But yeah, I think we'll have some fun style matches here and there. Look, we found our balance. Misfits has and creators, there's creators, and that this is the negative. I want them to know, if you're a big influencer, it doesn't mean fighting on Misfits doesn't mean I'm going to pair you up with someone who's 5-0 and you're coming for your first fight. You know, people are little bit intimidated that the Misfits roster take it so seriously. But as you guys saw with Afghan Dan's fight and a few others that we've put on at an elementary level, we would try to match make in accordance, to having similar experience level. Maybe Ben Davis is a bad example for his first fight with us, but Gabe Silver was a bit much. But still, mad respect, man, for taking that. But yeah, ultimately, I think there's room and it's welcome when you have Lewis Bowden and those guys coming in and bringing in a fun element. But that's a part of the Misfits DNA, but it's not all of it. And I think that's important to find out. And look, just as fans are getting to know the brand, we've been educated by fan reactions, by fighters, by the growth. So if you're self-reflective in a very honest way and you're open to constructive criticism, you have to apply that to the business and see, okay, this guy's just hating for no reason. This guy's just swearing at my grandmother. But this guy's got a good point. Actually, that's interesting. So constructive criticism is always welcome if you want to advance in your business. You have to be open-minded. You have to be open to new ideas and yeah, look, part of Misfits boxing is the fun stuff like the tag team and Misfits Mountain and Survivor Tag and listen, those are still competitive situations. People can poo-poo on them if they want, but the reality is, wait till you guys do your first tag team match on Misfits, which will make happen at some point. It's not easy, and you have to employ a very different strategy.
Yeah.
So it's like playing doubles tennis. It's not as serious as singles, but it's still very fun to watch. And there's different strategies employed. Like there's someone standing at the net at all times, and then you both want to stand at the net and blah, blah, blah. It's very different to just playing singles. So it's the same thing with tag team boxing.
So we do have confirmation that tag team boxing will return this year.
Oh yeah. That's again part of the DNA. We have to crown some tag team champions.
You've got your first two here.
Hey, I saw you on the pads looking sharp, Biel.
Thank you. You've been doing it a little while now, so hopefully I'm getting a little bit good. But our next question will move on to Adin. He asks, will Joe Weller ever be a part of Misfits and maybe against Danny Aaron's or something?
As of right now, no. I think he made it clear when we were trying to do the Qatar card, he was supposed to be on it initially, and then it was him and Bazinga. Bazinga basically walked away from it. He got the offer that he was asking for, and he still decided not to. And I get it; it's such a commitment, and I almost feel sorry for some creators because if they choose not to box, it's almost the fans are like mad at them. But you can choose not to get punched in the face if you're in a place where you don't need to. You're not obligated to do that. And then Joe Weller was supposed to fight another fight that we were working on in Qatar, and then kind of said, you know what, like I'm really not feeling it. I don't. He's grown spiritually. I think I feel like into a place where he's very peaceful. So he doesn't have those seemingly doesn't have those demons to exercise. I think, in short, as of right now, no.
Solid. Second and last question here from Real Fighting Man. Will you continue the 190-pound tournament with everyone still in it? I thought the cruiserweight tournament kicked off great, and then obviously scheduling changes always hurt the team. But will that continue to happen?
Yeah, I'm determined to. I hate not finishing something we start, you know,
Mhm.
and that is definitely planned for this year. I've just got to get my scheduling and my partners and everyone on the same page, and then we hope to crown that champion very soon.
I can't wait for that. Now, I've received a very specific instruction here. He says, I want my Hispanic brother Biel to read my name in the best Spanish voice possible. So let me give it my best go. Juan Hernandez asks where Mams' ideal next opponent for Wade would be, if not HS.
I don't want to reveal that.
Fair
Secret.
enough. That's solid. What is the latest with HS Tiki Taki, right? Do we have confirmation that his situation's been resolved and he's ready to get back at it, or is he still working through things?
I don't know. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
We've we speak every now and then and make sure he's doing good. But it's been on his agenda, so hopefully it will be something he takes care of sooner rather than later.
Let's hope so. It would be fun to see him back. I love it. Well, Mams, that's all that we have for you here today. Anything that you want to leave the fans with before we get you out of here?
I'm grateful that they keep watching and supporting the product, and they're passionate about the things they're passionate about. So yeah, more to come.
I love it. Well, for BL, I've been Ben the Bane Davis. It's a pleasure to, as always, bring Misfits news to you. Mams, thank you so much for the time, and we look forward to chatting soon.
Thank you, gents.